See, hello and welcome to another edition of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason,
And I'm Bill.
and you want to say we have a business moment today or no? If not, I kind of have one. So,
Go ahead, you start with one.
all right. So, I don't know if anyone has seen the new Paul George PlayStation-inspired sneakers. They're very cool. The PG2s. I put in for
Can you
the.
show me a picture?
I showed you a picture. I've shown lots of people pictures. I'm a big PlayStation fan. I'm a big NBA fan. I really like them. I signed up for the alert on Nike.com. Popped on to get them like 10 minutes after they were available, and they were already sold out.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I
If
understand.
only Big Baller worked that easy.
I know, and I understand. You create a demand and you have a limited number, but I'm a little baffled as to why you have so few shoes that people ordering within the first 10 minutes can't get a pair of shoes.
You know what I think probably happened, Jay? Just like with concert tickets, somebody just bought a boatload of them somehow, convinced it wasn't a robot, and now they're sneakerheads and they're going to resell them and just do whatever they do.
Yeah, I guess. I think part of it for me is I don't completely understand the sneakerhead culture. You've got that really cool book on the coffee table that I've looked at from time to time.
Yeah.
But, some people are going to keep them in a box and they'll stay nice and new and shiny and fresh. But
I
it seems
gotta wear them.
I would wear them to play hoops in, but it just seems like a weird, it's a good thing to have a demand and somewhat of a rarity, but they're so rare that hardly anybody can get them seems a bit odd. Like, I feel like there'd be more money in letting more people buy them than letting the sneakerhead culture sort of run with them. But, again, I don't know business, so I'm sure they know what they're doing. But, yeah.
That's too bad. If I hear anything, I'll let you know. But I don't, I know some people like you, but I'll try and find out what's going on. How many shoes did they make? Do you know? Did they say?
They didn't say. They just, they said sign up for an alert and then, log in. And, like I said, it said sold out. So they couldn't have made that many.
Yeah. Unless it was a really great concept. Everybody loved it, so they jumped on it. I don't know.
I know, but again, and Nintendo actually does this a lot too, where it seems like there's a huge demand for something. And I understand you want people looking for it, you want people talking about it, you want people trying to find it. But there's got to be a line somewhere from a business standpoint. Like, if I've got this many people, especially nowadays where you can pre-order. I mean, you couldn't pre-order the shoes, but why not let people pre-order the shoe? And guarantee that if you pre-ordered, you got a pair, and then had so many pairs available to people that didn't pre-order, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's good.
It seems like they left money on the table. They left my money on the table at the very least.
Well,
I was excited to buy them, so.
So for my sport business moment, it's a shame that it's February, but I'm outside of the Frisco Rough Riders AA baseball park,
Okay.
and it's probably the coolest baseball park I've ever seen. And you know what they have in the outfield, Jay? A lazy river.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, I would come back down here just to go to baseball game and do that, which kind of ties into what I'm working on in my SBJ column is seats versus spaces. And I'm of the belief now, we talk about millennials all the time, that if I get 10 friends, we don't want to go to a game and sit in a line of 10 people and yell back and forth across all the seats. We'd rather have a creative space to play in. And so I'm going to talk about this spot. I'm going to talk about the Coca-Cola corner at Citi Field. I'm going to talk about the Port Suite in Pittsburgh. I'm going to talk about the beach in San Diego. I think this is going to have to become more. If you really want millennials and younger people to go to games, you got to give them a space where they can be social and active together. And if they watch the game, great. As long as they have a good time while they're at the game, that's more important.
Okay. I get that on some level, but let's say you applied that same concept to the movie theater. Is your product so boring that I need to be there doing other things rather than watch the actual
but look
product?
At the movie theater. You are doing other things. You're now sitting in a lazy boy recliner, and you're getting food and beverage served to you, and you've got gelato bars and coffee bars. They have made it different. They've made your experience different to get you to leave your house and watch the movie on a bigger screen. So that's what they're doing. They're playing with the space idea too.
I suppose to some extent, but I mean, if I'm, what's to stop me from my friends being like, you know what, this lazy river is awesome. Let's just go to the water park.
And some people are going to do that.
Right.
But other people are going to say, wow, this was cheap. I said to buy a ticket. The water park's like $35. I bought an $8 ticket and went to a baseball game, and I get to go to a lazy river.
Okay, I didn't know it was that cheap. That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, it's just like a regular. It's included in your price at a minor league baseball park.
And
It's an open during a game.
now, do you see football and basketball having to do things like this?
I think they might have to at some point. Basketball's pretty immune right now, but they need to do something. Arenas are going to have to change too, but it's easier with the outdoor venues because you have so many seats, and not all the seats are getting sold to begin with.
Right.
So you create some new space. But while we're on the movie theater, let's jump to that because I know we got a big NBA day. But I went to the movies last night. I'm going to go to the movies again tonight. Last night I saw Hostels.
Ooh, the Western.
Yes.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale and
Rosamund Pike.
She was amazing, as was Christian Bale. It was a very, very good movie. Kind of makes you rethink American history a little bit.
Okay.
And thankfully for me, I was worried I wasn't going to get a semi feel good ending, but I got a semi feel good ending.
All right.
But it's a pretty violent movie, but it's really, really well done. The cinematography is unbelievable. It's all shot in New Mexico and Colorado.
Okay.
And then tonight, despite the fact that it only got a 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, I think I'm going to go see Winchester.
It only got a 10.
On Rotten Tomatoes. That's what somebody told me.
I think right now it's got a 5.2 on IMDb. So that's, I mean, you figure it's technically in the horror genre, which automatically knocks it down a few pegs no matter what in America.
I'm going to get Helen Mirren's in it, isn't she?
Right. And
she's a big name actress. I don't think she'd do a shitty show.
No, and not to spoil anything at all, but I know there is something about sort of a message about guns in general as part of the Winchester
I'm sure.
story.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure. But, I think it's interesting. I mean, that house really exists in San Jose.
Right.
So I'm going to go check it out. That's my thing. But let's get back on the sport thing now. Let's talk about the NBA, which was a wild trade deadline.
Indeed. Should we just start right at the top with the team that just blew out the Celtics by 21 points 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, let's talk about that. They got younger. They got more athletic. They made LeBron happier.
And most importantly, I think over everything is they changed that culture in the locker room, which just seemed toxic.
Yeah, and I guess that's a pretty amazing turnaround to win like that with us players not really having been there to practice and be really into the game. So, it's just talented athletes. So I didn't get to see the game. I was in a meeting. Did you watch any of it?
Yeah, I saw the highlights. Like you said, they were absolutely on fire to begin with, which it was one of those games where it seemed like it didn't really matter what the other team did. Like the basket was 3 feet wide and they were just, every shot was going in. Jordan Clarkson was pulling up on, breakaway layup. Instead of breakaway layups, was pulling up on 3, knocking it down. LeBron was on the sideline, just super happy, screaming, acting like, he cared, which is the first time we've seen that from LeBron all year.
It's interesting because we keep back this quote with LeBron saying he wants to end his career in Cleveland, and all the speculation that he's going to leave and go to LA or wherever.
Right.
So I don't know what to believe.
I think the tough thing is, I know there's plenty of chatter about how much he and Dan Gilbert do not get along and still do not. But I think that's obviously the crux of that whole relationship. But I know, like, the ESPN talking heads this week have been talking about how Dan Gilbert wants him gone, which I still find that hard to believe, that you would want the biggest draw in the business, the best player in the last 20, 30 years, you'd want him away from your team.
Yeah.
Even if it means getting him for one more year, you'd take him for one more year. Like,
sure.
Every GM in the league would take him for one more year. He's LeBron James. But the other amazing thing they did is they got rid of 6 pieces. They brought in 6 new players.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Kevin Love will be back off the injured reserve list, whether you think he's whatever. And they kept the Brooklyn pick.
Yeah, which was the key.
Yeah.
Because that lets you take these 6 and add the Brooklyn pick to it. And who knows?
Yeah. And again, there's not a lot of free agents available this year outside of LeBron. And obviously Paul George. But it's not like any of them were probably coming to Cleveland anyway.
Probably not.
But now you've got Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, who were both better than the guys you had. They're the only long-term money you took on. Larry Nance Jr. is a nice young player that can get up and down the floor, provide some space. And, whether you take Love in the Brooklyn pick and move him for a bigger player, or pick somebody with the Brooklyn pick and move forward, depending on what happens with LeBron. I mean, that GM did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think he did too. And he really established himself too, because he was really not, he was they didn't renew the other guy's contract. And so he left, and this guy got the job by default. Nobody knew what they had in this guy. So it's kind of interesting how it all played out.
It definitely is. I think, sadly, the Warriors just loom over everything. Because at this point, every move you make has to be like, if you're the Cavs, obviously, you made a few small moves here and there to, chemistry, younger, faster. You didn't really give up that much.
No.
But if you're everybody else, you have to ask yourself, does any of these moves put us past the Warriors? And if not, why are we doing it?
True. I mean, that's the ultimate question. That's what you're measuring yourself against. And that's what you got to develop your team. Just like we talk about the NFL, you got to dress your team to beat the Patriots. And now, same thing in the NBA with the Warriors.
Right.
You got to draft a team or acquire the pieces to give you an opportunity to compete against the Warriors consistently.
It's true. And there's some interesting buyout guys. Joe Johnson is committed to the Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
And although he seems like he's an ageless wonder, he can still give you buckets.
Yeah. And
provide some bench scoring.
He's a nice piece in a D'Antoni offense.
He really is.
He's a good fit for that. That signing makes a lot of sense. What I see, Marco Bellinelli,
right?
The Italian sharpshooter, is going to sign with the Sixers.
Sign with the Sixers of all teams. I know.
It's interesting. I mean, they already have J.J. Redick, so it seems like they have that player. So I don't know.
Not that he fits exactly what they need, but I was hoping to see after they were unable to make a move. I was hoping Oklahoma City would get him.
I was too. That's exactly who I was hoping. Take a little bit, be able to have some offense. But who's the defense? There's a defensive player that got cut that makes a little bit of sense for Oklahoma City.
Did Tony Allen get cut?
Tony Allen, that's exactly what I'm thinking about.
Tony Allen's 36, though, and he's kind of a shell of himself. But
Tony Allen coming in, you try him out for a little bit. If he doesn't work, he doesn't work. But, I mean, with that piece, he can be rejuvenated. He has a defined role. I'd like to see Tony Allen sign with the Thunder. That'd be my hope.
That's a good hope. I was really hoping they would get Avery Bradley. He's provided fits against James Harden and Steph Curry. Yeah. And it would be nice to see if they could have somehow pulled a deal for him. But I mean, they're pretty strapped for cash and picks. I don't think they can trade a pick until 2022.
They're pretty far over the cap right now.
Yeah, because they're the one interesting team in the West. Because outside of them, it's basically Yeah,
the Spurs are definitely showing their age this year.
And we still don't know what's happening with Kawhi Leonard, and I don't see them beating anybody without Kawhi.
No.
And that story is just a bizarre story.
It is a bizarre story.
Where now there's talk that he wants out at the end of the year, so who knows?
I mean, I think that the agents stir up a lot of this, and social media stirs up a lot of this. And there's always a story. There's always something going on. So.
And I think, and again, I'm not accusing them of obviously causing any sort of shenanigans or anything like that against ESPN, but they have all these shows, their radio shows, their 3 different channels, their website, and they need to drive traffic. And it seems like on First Take, every time you get 3 or 4 just bizarre, Kawhi hates, whoever. I heard from somebody.
You know what? I'd have to be paid to watch First Take.
Exactly, but
I'd have to be paid to watch the Undefeated.
Right, but they both pop up on Twitter and Reddit from time to time, and it just, and you look at them and you're like, who said that? And they're like, They have to have 2 sides. You have to, even if you don't believe it, you've got to take the other side to create the controversy for the show. Right. I mean, it's a show based on controversy and arguments, so you kind of have to maybe some guy on the internet is the guy that said that Kawhi Leonard is unhappy, and that's their source now. And it's not.
What our motto is: good conversation, no yelling.
Right.
Which was a response to all those shows. I watched a bunch of college basketball yesterday, which I haven't done all year.
Did you watch Trae Young? Or no?
What did I watch yesterday? I watched Oklahoma State beat West Virginia. I watched Gonzaga absolutely dismantled St. Mary's. I watched Purdue and Michigan State, and then I watched Iowa State beat Oklahoma. I watched a lot of basketball yesterday. That's more basketball than I've watched all year combined.
Indeed. That is quite a bit. And how do you feel about Young?
Oklahoma's lost 4 out of 6 now, or 5 out of 6.
Right.
And it seems like the teams are playing the same. That there's no, I don't know, just it's not gelling right now. They don't look good. But do you see this Japanese, African American Japanese player for Gonzaga? Have you seen him?
Yeah, he's
unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Like, he's the best player I've seen all year, bar none.
Even seeing Trae Young from Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, I would. This guy is so big and physical and athletic and quick. He's the best player I've seen.
Okay.
I would take him because, Trae Young's still a 6-foot point guard.
It's true.
And I mean, he's got some great range, but I'm really enamored with this Japanese kid. I'm really enamored the way he played. But then I'd like to see him against maybe St. Mary's is a good team, but they never play well against Gonzaga.
No.
So maybe I'd like to see Gonzaga playing a Villanova or somebody could maybe match up a little bit more with the athleticism and see how that goes. So maybe I'm too extreme saying he's the best player. He was amazing last night. I need to see it over time against better competition.
Sure.
But I was really impressed.
Yeah, I think, as you know, as a youngster, I jumped on the Gonzaga bandwagon pretty hard. But they've been a kind of I think at this point you can call them a disappointment in the tournament, right? A consistent disappointment?
Well, they made the finals last year.
That's true.
For the first time. Remember, that was part of our show last year. We were talking about how we wanted Gonzaga to make the finals. That they weren't, they weren't a Cinderella story anymore.
Right, that's the thing. They haven't been a Cinderella story for a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did have a tiny bit of NFL news this week, despite the season being over.
Parade.
We had the parade, but we also had Josh McDaniels spurning the Colts and staying with the Patriots.
And you know what? I'm actually gonna defend it, and here's why. Don't go somewhere just to go. Go because you want to go. And to me, it was obvious that he was going to go because it was a shot at being a head coach, not necessarily where he wanted to go. So I got to actually give the Patriots credit because I know they're not saying this, but they promised him he's effectively the head coach in waiting. You know that.
Yeah.
They're not saying that, but that has to be the only reason he would stay. And so because of that conversation, you would think then that Belichick implied that he was going to coach for X number of years.
Right.
And probably give this guy a finite hope. I'm going to coach for up somewhere between 1 and 3 years. I'm going to coach. There had to be a conversation like that.
And like you said,
but it was real interesting. And then he hired a coach today. Saw that, right?
Yeah, they took the Eagles offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Frank Reich. Who used to be a quarterback for Buffalo.
And led one of the greatest.
I liked him. He did a great job.
He did. I mean, I think, whether it's him or Peterson, like that Eagles staff was phenomenal all year. Obviously, the defense not so much in the last game.
You have no idea what you have with Oliver Luck. You have no idea.
No. Andrew Luck, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. He's almost in that.
No idea.
No. Zero. If he can ever be the player he was, 2-3 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Because he's coming off 3 really either missing the entire season or missing significant chunks of the season. Different experts have looked at the shoulder and said he can throw, said he can't throw. There's all that rumbling that supposedly came from, the idiot owner. Wanting to get back.
Oregon had one quarterback that couldn't throw, and they tried to let him go to Denver.
That's true.
So we'll see what happens here.
Without a doubt.
Did you see the picture of the guy eating horse manure?
I did. Good job, Philly.
I have to say that's over the top. That I don't care who won, how significant it was, how big a fan I am, or how drunk I am. You got to draw the line there, not in your mouth.
No, and they were sadly predictably, incredibly destructive of their own city. You're proud and happy that your team won, and you celebrate by destroying the city and a man eating dog shit out of a horse. Or horse shit, I should say, not dog shit. I mean,
Yeah.
It's baffling.
So, just the practical reasons. Like you go to kiss somebody and go, oh, my kid got to eat the horse shit. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some real hangover effect with that maneuver.
Yeah, because that's a pretty rare occurrence, especially one captured on film, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So you're going to be that guy.
Yeah. And I hope his friends took him to a car wash and had him go through with his mouth open to try and clean that out. I mean, that's pretty bizarre. That's pretty bizarre. But I'm still on my high, though, from the Patriots losing. It's still one of the greatest weeks of my football fandom.
I'm not quite as hot. Like I said, I won a little bit of money in our quarters, our little pool we had, and the Patriots lost, which is a wonderful thing. But I still feel very disappointed by the Steelers.
I guess I'm rationalizing. I'm saying that, remember I've said on record that I would root for ISIS against the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think that really wasn't for effect. I really hate the Patriots. And I guess these last couple weeks just showed me just how much I do hate the Patriots.
Yeah.
So, we had a big signing in baseball with Yu Darvish signing with the Cubs. And the reason I think it's a big signing is it's some movement now of all these unsigned free agents. So let's see what happens. It's going to be an interesting story to follow now this week. Are there going to be more signings? Is this a domino that other things are going to happen? So we can pay attention to that story a little bit too.
Definitely. And other than that, sports-wise, not a whole lot.
Yeah, not really.
I am in New Orleans right now. And it is Mardi Gras, so I got to go to my first 2 Mardi Gras parades. And
your report?
I wish I could tell you I was more excited about them. I think it's a little bit like when you're a kid and there's a toy in the cereal, and you're really excited to get it, and then you finally get it, and you're like, oh, it's a stupid whistle. I mean, because people just go nuts for, plastic beads and cups that people are throwing off the sides of these parade floats.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what they actually do with them. Like, I know they found 98,000 pounds of beads in the sewer system. So,
yeah,
they're not exactly keeping them.
You know what? I'm curious. I've always been curious about the New Orleans sewer system. And here's the question I would ask: is there more percentage of the sewer system full of powdered sugar from Cafe du Monde or Mardi Gras beads?
It's probably a combination of the two, or some sort of scary hybrid monster of the both. So I have no idea. But yeah,
there could be definitely solid blocks of that stuff down there. So yeah, I think Mardi Gras. You've got to be 100% committed to it. You got to be as drunk as everybody throwing the beads to enjoy it, I think.
Right.
But it's just not my cup of tea. I mean, I'm not, I don't get that drunk anymore.
And again, I love the city. It's been fantastic to me, so I don't want to say. But the one thing I have no clue and I just cannot understand completely is the king cake. King cake is essentially a cinnamon roll. And granted, they occasionally put, cream cheese or something else in the middle, but the cake is the cinnamon roll cake.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's covered with icing and then typically green, yellow, and purple sugar.
Yeah.
And they are everywhere, and people down here just love them. And through my work, I've got to try, because they bring them in every day. I've had them from Sucre. I've had them from this famous place. You've got to order them 3 weeks in a row. So I've got to try, I feel like, the best of the best of the best king cakes. And it just tastes like Cinnabon to me. And I just, again, it sounds like I'm very down on Mardi Gras, but it's a wonderful city and I love it. The king cake is just, it's baffled me how much people love it down here. I know it's tradition, and I'm not from New Orleans, so obviously I don't quite understand all the tradition. But if you're here and you have a king cake during this time of year and you like it, please let me know. Because like I said, if you have other people from out of town try them too, they're sort of like, oh. Which I think is about the reaction you would get if you had a mediocre cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what that is.
It's the feature on Foodie Direct and Goldbelly and all the internet sites.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the store this morning and everybody was buying one. And like I said, we've had them on set for the last 6 weeks. Just every craft service table, every kitchen, king cake. And I don't know. I mean,
it's interesting because one of my favorite food items is only usually available on Fat Tuesday.
And that is?
A paxi.
A paxi.
P-A-C-K-S-I or P-A-C-H-S-I. It's a Polish donut that's only made on Fat Tuesday.
Huh.
And it's got more stuff in it than any donut I've ever had. So like a jelly donut with max filling. And some are chocolate cream, but they're really, really good. I actually ordered some on Gold Belly that are going to come on. I guess I get them on Wednesday because they ship them out on Tuesday. But they only make them one day here.
Huh.
But I like them a lot.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep my eye out for one of those then. I'll give that a shot. Again, it's not that king cake is bad, mind you. It's just when you see the hysteria of living down here and how much everybody just goes nuts for it, you just expect something a little bit better. I don't know. Just me.
Yeah.
But
I like the colors, but I don't need.
It's a very pretty cake. Yeah, but it's.
Yeah.
And the sugar just gets absurd. And this is someone that really likes sugar.
Yeah.
But it's pretty ridiculous. But, I guess it's filling. So you stick it in your belly and it soaks up some of the alcohol so you can drink more. Maybe that's the secret. I don't know.
Or maybe it just tastes better when you're drunk.
Oh, I'm sure everything does, so I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know we have like 35 parades, and I've only went to 2, so I would also qualify my parade comments with that, that maybe I didn't get to go to the creme de la creme of parades, so. But I think I might be done with parades for the year, even though it's only Sunday.
You may be in one on your way to work tomorrow.
We actually have the next 2 days off at work. They're paid holidays for us.
Wow.
Because the
That's
city.
another reason to like Mardi Gras.
That's a great reason to like Mardi Gras. Basically, the city is so insane that you can't get anywhere, and people can't get home, and people can't get to work. So we're forced to shut down. I know even Uber and Lyft and some of those places shut down service in certain places, and then the other time it's just absurdly high priced. So.
Yeah. I remember last year when I was there with the NBA All-Star game and that going on at the same time, that Uber was a dream. I mean, I rode a pedicab once from the French Quarter to the Dome, and that's about as easy. And then I walked the rest of the times. I mean, you just couldn't get around. New Orleans is a tough city to get around in anyhow. You don't really need to drive in New Orleans. It's hard to drive in New Orleans, but
yeah, because it looks like the roads were hit with bombs. Like it's just
bombs and people staggering around, and it's like Pittsburgh. Some of the roads don't go all the way through, and they change names and do different things.
It's not easy. I've learned to get my 3 or 4 places that I have to get to on a regular basis, and other than that, I just pretty much stay home.
Yeah. So I'll do a review on Winchester next week, hopefully. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go see it tonight.
Yeah,
still loving The Alienist and still liking Bellevue. I'm still with my TV things.
I've actually been watching The Patriot on Amazon, which is a television show. It's hard to describe exactly, but there's sort of I guess you could say a black ops operative, right? And he's slowly beginning to lose. He's also a folk singer. And it's a very dark comedy, and he's slowly sort of losing it, I guess you could say. And his songs are becoming very literal. So he is singing about the horrible things that he's doing and sort of apologizing for it at the same time and just trying to hold it together. And it's sort of like, bizarrely, like a black comedy / almost like a realistic sort of spy show.
Wow.
Because things go constantly wrong in a normal way of going wrong, like not, a giraffe running through but just in a normal sort of time constraint, things going wrong sort of way. But it's a really cool show. And other than that, I've actually been rewatching the Harry Potter movies, which are fantastic. So,
okay,
I'll throw that out there. Not that they probably need any more love than they've already gotten, but they're really well. It's great world building, great characters. It's really well done. I just really enjoy them. So,
awesome.
Yeah. And I'll try to watch something new for next week. So.
Well, I thought I'd have a food moment since I'm in Texas. But I had a chicken fried steak last night at a place called Norma's Cafe, and it was average.
Yeah.
I was intrigued because Norma's Cafe has been around for like 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be pretty good. But it was average.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it was. I was really bummed out.
Let's see. I did go to a new, really great restaurant down here in New Orleans, another one food moment. It's called the Ye Old College Inn, and it's on Carrollton.
Okay.
You go in, it's got a great atmosphere. It's a really cool. The building's very cool inside. Great decor. It's a very eclectic menu. Obviously, very New Orleans, very seafood. I mean, you know the kind of person I am. I didn't actually eat super New Orleans-y, but great service, great atmosphere. It's very cool. It gets really packed after about 6 o'clock.
So what did you eat?
I actually had their burger because I like going to fancy restaurants. Not fancy. It's not fancy per se, but the food is a bit fancy, I guess. But I feel like some of those places have excellent burgers. It was a very good burger. But they had a lot of other stuff that looked great. And Holly had some stuff that was fantastic. So,
Awesome.
yeah, it's a
I'll
place.
keep it in mind next time I visit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that probably wraps it up for this week.
Yeah. I'm headed to LA for All-Star Weekend. I'm not going to go to the game. I'm going to go to Saturday night in the NBA Tech Summit, so I'll be able to talk about those next Sunday night.
Great.
And hopefully I'll have a memorable meal in LA, so we'll see how it goes.
You've got a couple spots you love there, so
I do.
hopefully we'll hit one of those. All right, so until next week, which will be technically episode 52, believe it or not.
An anniversary show.
An anniversary show. There's 52 weeks in a year, so it's our 1-year anniversary. So
excellent.
It's very exciting. So until next week.
We'll sign off, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
All right.